Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're doing a bit of MOT prep. So Land Rover's going in for MOT next week, so we're just going over it and making sure everything is good. And there's a few things I've got to do since rebuilding the engine. So anyone who knows a Land Rover can see a big issue right here, which is this bleed valve. So this is a bleed valve. So when you bleed the air out of your cooling system, these are tiny little plastic screws in there, and I've managed to strip mine out. So what we're going to do today is replace and fix this issue so that we'll have no problems on the MOT. So what I'm going to do is I've ordered this pipe here. Now this is a whole section pipe, a whole replacement piece. If you don't know, this pipe comes all the way down here into the radiator, then drops down there, this one here, into the bottom of the engine. So instead of replacing the whole thing, because there's nothing wrong with the pipe this way or this way, all I'm going to do is replace this here, and I'm going to replace this pipe here as well, I think. So because this pipe is part of the fitting, so what I'm going to do is take this hose clamp off, cut the pipe here. We're going to reuse this pipe and remove this new section and install that, just so we get a nice new bleed nipple on there. So I'm going to try and do this without spilling any coolant if possible. So let's get on with it. So first step, I'm going to take this hose clamp off here, and I am going to keep, obviously, this bit of pipe that we're not going to use on here, this piece, I am going to keep, obviously, because if the rest of the pipe goes, I've got it. I'm going to keep it in the car because I only really use the Land Rover for camping and overlanding. So this will stay in the car. So I've always got it. If anything happens, I can always install it down the bottom. So now that that's off, I'm going to move to cutting this pipe here, taking this off. Obviously, we are going to get a bit of coolant leak. I'm going to clamp the pipe there to reduce that. There's nothing we can do about this bit here. We're just going to have to cut it. I'm probably going to clamp it there because this pipe's fucked anyway. As you can see, it's leaking. It does hold pressure, surprisingly. This is just gasket maker. It does hold pressure. I have driven it like it, but obviously we want to make sure it's perfect. So I think first we're just going to cut this as close to this bleed nipple as we can. Obviously it's going to spray coolant everywhere. You can always top it up afterwards, but let's just carry on cutting. Cut it as straight as you can with a nice sharp blade. Spill as much coolant as possible. Now we want to take the two hose clamps off, and then we're going to try to slip them on here as quick as we can. Try and reduce what we lose, because there will be a bit out the engine block, and then the other line goes to the heater matrix. So there's that one off, and then this little one here, push that one back over there, and then we'll just try and spill as little as we can now. Release that pipe. They're coming off quite easy. They've only been slipped off not that long ago. So that bit of pipe can come out. Take this clamp off. So what you can't see now is I'm just off camera putting the big hose clamp on the big piece of pipe here, just so it's on there ready. Push that on there, that one on there. That will then connect on there. But we need the hose clamp, which is there. The problem I'm having here is this pipe sits a bit more forward on the original one, so it doesn't rub. But on this one, it's rubbing on the aircon line there. So what I'm thinking to try and do is just twist that up ever so slightly, but then that makes it not the low point. So basically what it's doing here is it's making this point the high point, so we have to bleed the air from here, which means there'll always be a slight bit of air. So what I'm thinking is maybe we'll take that off and run it underneath the aircon line. So the aircon doesn't work in this one anyway. And then we can twist it down. What we're essentially trying to do here is make, there we go, the bleed nipple the highest point in the system, so the air comes out of there, because obviously that's what we want. So I think that'll work. If we twist it down, bring it out. So as you can tell, guys, I'm doing this for the first time here, so we're learning with you. Obviously we rebuilt this engine in one of the last videos, so you know, I'm no qualified mechanic, so I just hope making these videos will help someone else who has a similar problem or issue. So it will pop this clamp on down here. Make these a bit smaller. Make sure the pipe's on fully, like that. And we'll release our grips here. Slide this pipe all the way on. Make sure that's not rubbing. I might just wrap a bit of cloth tape around it, because you can see the old one was rubbing there ever so slightly. There's a bit of a mark on this line. So I might put some Tessa tape or something around this AC line just to prevent any rubbing may happen. So obviously we don't want that. We'll try and adjust it first, see if we can get it completely off. I'll also put a link to this pipe in the description. Just one I got off eBay. So I'll get this hose clamp done back up. Happy with the position of that one. So we'll get that done back up. Not too tight, just enough to secure it. Crack that bleed valve a bit. Get this hose clamp here up. And then pop this on. Just there. What I'll do is I will guide you through the bleeding process, and I'll bring the bleeding process up on the screen for you to see as well. So I've got the bleed process up on the screen for you guys. So we've got to make sure the truck is cool, open the reservoir cap, which is this one here. So we're going to open that, take it right off, just pop it to the side, and then we need to unclip the small coolant hose which runs here. So unclip this one, and then pull the reservoir forward and lift up above the battery box. So you pull the reservoir up, and basically you need to sit it somewhere up so it's the highest point of the system. And then what we're going to do is fill the reservoir up until it's flowing out of our bleed nipple there, and then put the bleed screw back in, fill the reservoir up to the cold line, which is here, and then you can leave the cap off, start the truck, turn the heater on high, get it nice and flowing, and all the air will come out this tank here. And then once the air is out, you should hear no sort of water running, like waterfall in the system. So let's get on with that. So we'll crack the bleed nipple off and open it. Take it out, don't lose it. And behind the camera, I'm going to be filling up the coolant reservoir just until we can see it coming out that bleed screw. Now is also a good time to keep your eyes open for any leaks on the new bits we've installed. There you can see the coolant coming out. We'll put the cap back on. I guess don't do it up too tight because it'll just spin. And then what we're going to do is top the coolant up to the cold line and then run the engine. Before we start the engine, we need to make sure the reservoir's back. So on the bottom of the reservoir, you can see there's a little flap. So that slots into that slot down there. So that slots can be a bit of a bugger. Just be careful of any pipes and metal clips. That slots in there. And then there's a rubber clip there, which the coolant bottle drops into and clicks. That's that nice and secure. Make sure you re-secure this coolant cable down there. And now we'll start the truck and begin looking for any leaks on the system. So come round to the inside, put the key in, let the lights on the dash all go off, check for neutral, and then start it up. Come round. Now we're going to check our area for leaks. It doesn't look like we have any. It's really good. So we'll let that run, let it warm up, and we'll turn the heater on inside the car while it warms up. So come inside the car, switch your heaters to hot, on, and let them blow. And what that will do is it will take the heat from the engine around the matrix and make sure it gets right to temperature and allow all the air to bleed out the system. So we'll leave it running for a bit so it gets up to temperature. So guys, we've let it run, coolant cap's back on, pipe work's in place, and we've got no leaks. So we're gonna wrap this up just so it can't rub through, and that's job done. Now I'm going in for tea, and I appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.